everything all in one long shot. We're going to shoot this path, then the grass, and then up to this building. And your camera movement is all over the place with a dedicated camera movement for each clip. So you could start with a nice push forward of the path, then a slider shot of the grass, and then how about a push forward tilt up to reveal the building. Piece of practice, you'll no longer feel the need to shoot at a higher frame rate and slow your footage down because you'll be getting smooth shots straight out of camera. But as you start to improve and get more confident using your gimbal, mix up your angles and get creative. Move your camera close to the ground. Look for interesting angles and movements. The push through. Okay, the push through. Find something to push your gimbal through. Doorways work great for this. Bend your arm back and push your gimbal forwards. Lean through this shot with your upper body. The result, an epic push forward shot. Perfect for establishing a scene or location. Okay, number 2, the slider reveal. Find a focal point and use something in the foreground to reveal it. A slide motion from left to right or right to left works best for this. Keep your shot nice, smooth, and steady. Also, experiment with lenses if you've got them. I'm using the iPhone 11 with its wide angle lens. Equally, this is the same shot using the standard lens, still looks great. The standard lens will work best if your subject is further away, like this shot here, but experiment with what you've got and get creative. Number 3, the look up slider. Okay, since we're sliding, let's try one looking up. Feet locked on the ground, lean your body weight from one leg to another with your camera pointing up. This is a really easy move to pull off and gives you a completely unique perspective of your focal point. A slight variation on this would be to move your camera forwards or backwards instead of left and right. Also, don't forget to layer your shots. Use foreground, midground, and background to create depth and a much more interesting shot. Number 4, the fake crane shot. We've got our smartphone, gimbal, and we're now introducing a light stand. We're going to start by unscrewing the tripod from the bottom of our gimbal. Then, using this 1/4-inch thread, screw the gimbal onto your light stand, balance your phone, and you're good to go. Extend your light stand as far as it will go, a bit like fishing. Frame your focal point, stand up, nice and smooth, lift that camera as high as it will go, and just like that, using nothing but a smartphone, gimbal, and a second-hand light stand, you've just bagged yourself an epic crane shot without even moving your feet. Experiment with this shot, but I find it works best with foreground when you reveal your focal point. Get low and lift up. You can of course use a monopod or boom pole for this, but I had a light stand with me, so I made the most of what I had. This is the hero shot as far as I'm concerned, a great opener for a cinematic sequence, the ultimate way to set the scene. Also, don't worry if you don't have a light stand. You can replicate this shot just using your gimbal. Find some foreground, get your camera low to the ground, and lift. We'll call this one the mini jib. Great for revealing a location and can really help add production. This will come in very useful for the next move, the lowrider. Back to basics with this one, but having your tripod attached will give you that extra reach you need to get low to the ground. The lowrider is great for picking out details close to the ground and adds a really nice creative perspective to your videos. Number 6, the stretch out, lean back. Find a focal point, stretch your arms out and slowly lift them and begin to lean back. Foreground is crucial with this one. Keep lifting your arms up until your camera is just above your head. This shot is great for slowly revealing your focal point and adds a nice movement to your foreground. Also, you can reverse a lot of these shots. You might find this one easier stretching up and leaning forwards, for example. The shot still looks just as smooth and sometimes it's easier to pull off. Number 7, the cinematic orbit. Find a focal point. You'll need to find one that's small this time, something with a bit of distance between it and its background. This time we're going to open our camera app, select slow motion. Now get nice and close to your focal point, tap and hold the screen to lock focus and exposure, hit record, and then gradually orbit your camera around your focal point. Nice, smooth, and steady. This will create a really smooth shot with an out of focus background. This technique can really help give your footage that cinematic feel. A slight variation on this would be to push your camera forwards, keeping your focal point nice and centered. Then start with your shot out of focus, slowly push forward until your subject is revealed in nice crisp focus. Number 8, the look up crane shot. Okay, we're going to start by crouching down with our camera pointing up close to a wall. We're going to slowly stand up, pushing our camera up and as close to the wall as we can. Let your legs do the majority of the work with this one, but reach up at the end with your arms for an extra long shot. Look for walls that have some texture. This makes for a much more interesting shot. Now, this clip isn't particularly smooth, but don't worry because I'm just about to fix this. Okay, so let's start with a nice easy one, the push forward. If you've just unboxed your gimbal and you're using it for the first time, then this is the move to nail first. Simply balance your gimbal and walk forwards. This move is perfect for showing off a location, works as a great establisher and can really help set the scene. The pullback. Okay, the opposite to a push forward is the pullback, a great move for ending a scene, this one. And look, don't feel like you need to walk with these moves. Try just moving your arms or your upper body. You'll be surprised with what shots you can get. The lowrider. Okay, the lowrider, same as the push forward, this one, only this time hover your camera low to the ground. This really accentuates the camera movement and gives the illusion that you're moving much quicker than you actually are. The reveal. The idea here is to replicate a slider shot. Find something in the foreground, hold your arms out straight and move them sideways to reveal your focal point with one smooth movement. The crane shot. Another easy one, this one, arms out straight and lift your gimbal from the ground up. Use something in the foreground to accentuate the movement and create more depth. The orbit. Find a focal point and walk around it with your camera locked on a fixed position. Keep the same distance from your focal point at all times and walk at a consistent pace throughout. And consistency is key with all of these moves, by the way. Keep all your movement at a consistent pace. The lookup. A slightly unusual one, this, not something that you see often, but can create a really interesting shot. Simply point your camera facing up and walk forwards. The pullback tilt down. If you're doing this near a cliff edge, get someone to spot you. You don't want any accidents. You're going to walk backwards whilst tilting your camera down. Again, consistent movement is key here, and if you can pull this off, the shot just looks amazing. The look-up crane shot. Another unusual one, this, but you can capture some really interesting shots. Crouch down, point your camera up, and slowly stand up. Move your camera close to your focal point to help emphasize your movement. The push forward crane. Walk forwards, holding your gimbal out at arm's length low to the ground and slowly lift it up. Use some foreground to reveal your focal point and you've got yourself another perfect establishing shot for your videos.